Wombat Jones for Ramen Chokehold here with a very special guest, a man putting on a show next weekend at the Sunshine Coast at the Coolum Civic Centre. I'm here with Joel Szepesvary. How you going, mate?
I'm great, thanks, Wombat.
Mate, and first things first, what I want to clear up and make sure that I've got right, that last name, it's an absolute tongue twister. Come on, I need it, and I'm going to play it over and over again to make sure I get it right, mate.
You did pretty good, just a little bit less emphasis on the Z, so Szepesvary.
Szepesvary, all right. I'm into it, mate. Now let's get straight into it. I want to introduce you to everyone that may not know who you are. I'm sure if they're up in the Brisbane scene, they definitely know who you are. But you know, we go all around Australia here at Ramen Chokehold, and obviously, mate, you've got Coastal Combat. You're the promoter up there. But I want to get way back into when you actually first got into martial arts. How'd you get into martial arts?
Been doing martial arts for a bunch of years. Started when I was 12. I needed to do something. Needed to keep busy, and I just was gravitated towards combat sports. So yeah, I've been doing it for a few years now. I go over 22, 24. I forget how old I am. So.
Yeah. and what styles did you get into as a kid?
Yeah, I did karate. So I actually did the Zendo Kai karate, which was quite good at the time. I started back in '94. That was a freestyle art. They showed me a rear naked choke back in '94. I was doing rear naked chokes, hooks in. So there's a lot to be said for the Zendo Kai back in the day. And then moved from there into Muay Thai and kickboxing.
Yeah, right, mate. And I'm pretty sure, I'm sure someone will correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure you're the only promoter in Australia that's actually got a black belt. Is that true, or do you know anyone else who's got a black belt around?
The Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt.
Yeah, BJJ black belt.
Oh well, I'm not sure. I hadn't really looked into it too much, but I did start. I started training back in 2001 with the jiu-jitsu. So it was just one of those things, a means to an end. Studying, just out of school. I was 17, just out of school. Started doing security. Put myself through uni. So it seemed the striking kind of martial arts weren't too helpful when it came to dragging people out of nightclubs. So we got into the jiu-jitsu pretty quick.
And how do you think it sort of helped you with doing the security gig? I've heard lately that's really the new trend in the security guys, rather than going to kickboxing classes and that they're relatively going to BJJ now.
Yeah, well, it just makes sense. You can't just if you've got to get a guy out of a club and it's down several flights of stairs or. And he's in the back corner. You just can't knock him out and drag him out. That's dead weight. You'll be sweating by the end of the night, dragging dead weight out. So you need to use a little bit of holds, some holds and restraints, some pain compliance techniques. Get them walking. Communicate. So when you punch people, generally they stay hit. When I put some submissions on people and a little bit of pain compliance stuff, some wrist locks and some chokes, you can take the pressure off, and they can leave. They can still continue their night. You're not getting sued. No one's been knocked out. But I think jiu-jitsu definitely kept my head on my shoulders back in the day.
And you're from a medical science. You're actually a medical scientist, aren't you? You work in a lab. What do you do there?
I'm a medical scientist. That's essentially. So that's why I was that's why I was standing on the door. Really, just put myself through uni. I got 2 science degrees. I work in pathology. So I work in diagnosing cancer. I'm a histologist. So any lumps and bumps, I'll have a bit of a closer look. But your skin looks pretty good. But generally, most of my work is skin cancer. Like 70% of my work is skin cancer. Working up here on the coast, a lot of sun. Skin cancer capital of the world up here. Everyone moves up here, takes their shirt off, and people are like, "What's that on your back?" And then they nip it out, and then it gets sent to me. So I just give them a diagnosis, work out whether they've got the whole cancer or not, what kind of cancer it is, and whether we need to go back in and get more.
So it's an amazing sort of story that you got going here, and not only that, but you own and you run a gym as well, Combat Lab up there on the Sunshine Coast. How long that been going? And obviously you got a few boys that are on the card.
Yeah, so Combat Lab, yeah, it's been 10 years now. This is like we're just coming up on our 10th birthday next month, so we've been doing that. Yeah, well, the thing is with the gym, we're traveling around, moving back, coming back, and finally starting my career on the coast here. There was not really a lot of gyms around, so I was training with Ryan Dunstan down at Ignite, and just the commute was a bit much. Getting down to Brisbane to train with coaches, so yeah, we just kept doing it up here. People just kept knocking on the garage door and just wanting to turn up. It got a little bit ridiculous. I had to start charging people, and we ended up needing a bigger building. And that's how it started, really. No aspirations to start a gym or a fight team. It was really just the training.
And that sort of morphed into what we're here to talk about, my man, and that's Coastal Combat 4, which is going down next weekend. And by all everything that I'm hearing, it's going to be a sellout. And what's it been like for you to establish your brand up there? Obviously at the Coolum Civic Centre, that's where you are now, but just in that general region as MMA promotion.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the coast has got a bit of a rich history for MMA, so going back to the days of Warriors Realm and things like that. So there has been fights up here in the past. It's just for a long time there wasn't really much, and I had we were driving our guys down to the shows down XFC, Eternal, Gold Coast and Brisbane, and we're taking 30, 40 people with us to watch these guys fight, and it got to the point where there was two factors. I didn't want to have to keep driving down there every single time. It would be nice. People were like, it'd be nice to have a fight show up here, and you're asking your members and your supporters, and we've got some of the loyal supporters in our gym. I love those guys, but the thing is, it's like you're asking them to stay. It's a whole night away from their family. Down the Gold Coast, often people stay down there. It's a big ask, especially when we're getting more and more fighters, more and more shows, putting guys on every show. I kind of felt a little bit bad. I thought, well, we should really just do something up here. And it wasn't. It's not about. It wasn't like a money making thing. Okay, it was really just about giving a platform for our guys to fight. I want the guys to be able to fight at home, have that home crowd, and not ask my members to just pay the ticket money and then drive all the way down. People, they were doing it and they still do. But the thing is, having something at home, it just means a lot more to us.
And not only that, but it's not just your region as well, is it? Because, when we get into the card a little bit later, but you've got gyms like from Mackay and all the way up, a lot further north that can actually come down to you as well.
Yeah, well, it's become like that, So there's I've forged some really good bonds with some coaches, and essentially it's between 5 or 6 coaches. That's like 80-90% of the card. So I'm being a coach myself, and being on the other side of it, going to shows, and just thinking, how would I do this better? Even going to shows interstate, AFC and Hex, and just thinking, what would I do? I'm always in the back of my mind, just ticking over, how would I do it differently? Or I like that, why doesn't every show do that? And there's great aspects in every show, and what I've just tried to do is for the first show, it's like, how would I do it? So there was a year between our first show and our second show. The first one was just like, let's put this show together. I got on the phone to Jason from Gamebred, Ryan from Ignite, and it's like, let's whack this show together. We were fighting each other, just to put the card together. It was a little room, 250 people, And all said and done, the thing was a success. The place I couldn't even my fighters couldn't even hear me when I'm cornering them. So it was just so loud. And it was more just like, okay, this is the show. This is Coastal Combat. That's it. It's just, if I don't do another one, that's just part of my body of work. Turned my hand to it, had a crack. This is my interpretation of a fight show. And then yeah, we went 12 months, and it's like, when's the next one? When's the next one? And that's when we just kicked it off.
So do you think like you've sort of hit your straps now as a promoter? Obviously, when you start out, you don't really know what to expect. And I've hung around quite a lot of promoters now, and it's not an easy game, that's for damn sure. There's a lot of problems that arise last minute. So do you think now that you're really hitting your straps now?
Well, okay, so this show, so yeah, the thing is, there's a lot of fighters around. There's a lot of fighters around looking for fights. Okay, so I capped it at 16 for this one. I could have just gone crazy. I think that's not. I don't think that's fair on the fans as well. 16 fights, unless you're starting it earlier. I thought 16 will be. That's it. You start going up to 18, 19. It starts to become a bit of a kind of long drawn out affair. So as far as hitting my straps as a promoter, so it's always been about the matchmaking for me, getting fights. So I do 2 shows a year. We're looking at maybe doing a 3rd show next year in the middle. But I spent 6 months. Like I got 4 matches already ready to go for February, for a February card. I spend 6 months just thinking about matches, thinking about fighters I want and what I want to put together. So by the time I come around, I get to write my little fight release. I'm excited. Like I'm excited about each of these matchups. I'm not just slinging shit against the wall and hoping it sticks.
Mate, and let's talk about the show, because, like you said, there's 16 fights on the card. It's going to be a massive night of fights, and we'll talk about the final 3 fights on the card a little bit later. But some of the other fights that stick out for you, I'm coming up. I can't wait. I'm going to be there in the crowd. So which other fights should I be keeping an eye on?
Okay, so I think the Alex Hong versus Mark Grayson, I think that's going to be an absolute cracker. Okay, both guys come in with some legit jiu-jitsu skills. Being a jiu-jitsu guy, I love seeing jiu-jitsu in the cage. Okay, there's not enough of it. We need more of it. So, Mark he'd contacted me. I was trying to work. He'd contacted me earlier. Hong's opponent had pulled out. I thought I'll get back onto Mark. I think Hong's coming in at number 1 when they revised the rankings. So he's legit for 84. So the thing is, and I've got the other. I think it's 3 and 4 or 2 and 3 in Macklin and Cully, but we'll talk about them in a second. So I've pretty much just I've got the monopoly of the top 4 middleweights in Australia just on the one card. So I think so with Grayson, he said he was preparing for his ADCC trials. He's put that on hold, and so Grayson's 1-0. He's had 5-6 fights, legit. So this will be interesting. The only thing is Grayson won't be able to use any of those leg locks, any of the rotational leg locks. So it's B class. So it'll be interesting to see how he can work that leg game in, without using the heel hooks. There's ways to do it. But yeah, so I think that'll be a good fight. I'm excited about that one. Big boys as well.
Yeah, 100%. I'm looking forward to that one too. But if you know me, I love women's MMA. I'm sure you've probably figured that out by now, my man. But and you've got 3. I know that you put out a post on social media saying that you really wanted to boost her up, the women's MMA scene on this card. And you've got 3 fights on the card, which is quite a lot. Maybe you might see 1 or 2 on a card, but to have 3, you really are trying to step that game up. What's your reasonings behind that? Do you see it exactly the same way as I do, in that these girls really do need a platform now?
Well, yeah, I love women's MMA. I think it's great. When the girls go in there and they really throw down. There's some primal shit going on there. You know, like some of the most aggressive animals in the wild are the females. You know, so and you definitely see that when they walk into the cage. So you know, having coached a bunch of successful female fighters, obviously my wife Nicole, and then you got Brooke. You know, women's MMA has always been a big thing for us. You know, looking for fights. You know, it was tough for us to get fights early on for Nicole. You know, so we're acutely aware of who's around and what's going on in the scene. So it interests us, and that's why we really go after them. I think it's important to have them represented on the card, and we will continue to do that. And for our last shows, we've gone out of our way. We've spent money, you know, on flying, you know, amateur females in to fight. If I had a card without a female fight, you know, that'd be a really sad day. So I like watching the girls fight. My wife Nicole's, she's a bit of a mover and shaker in the whole scheme of things as well. So that's why we really have gone out of our way. We were going to have a fourth one as well. So but yeah, like I was with the girls fights. You know, I'm excited to have Christiane Ryder. So she's an Olympian, judo Olympian, competed at Beijing. So I'm excited to have her on the card. You know, we've brought up some girls from interstate. We're flying some girls down from up north as well. So you know, we're going out of our way to you know, really showcase women's MMA. We're not just saying we're into it, and if it works for us, we'll put it on. We're paying the money.
I love it, my man. Keep it up. You definitely got my support when it comes to that. But let's talk about these final 3 fights on the card. You're putting up a couple of belts. We've got Bradford Cow. He's up against Brandon Walsh. And we're talking about a couple of some of the best lightweight amateurs going around in the country now, aren't we?
Okay, yeah. So Brad versus Brandon. So that's both of those are sitting in the top 20 as far as lightweights in Australia. Both of them have had, so all their fights have been on Coastal Combat. Both of them undefeated. Walsh has been a little bit more spectacular, or Weapon X, as should be calling him. The Weapon X, he's been a bit more spectacular with his finishes. I think he's probably only spent about 40 seconds in the cage total. So he's had a pretty big, pretty fast knockout, and then a really fast submission against a Brazilian. So in our last show, so it seemed kind of the right choice to put him in there, and then we've got Bradford. You know, Bradford's 39 or 40. I'm not sure exactly. We'll just say 39. So he's been around. He's a purple belt. He's been training with me for a bunch of years. He's legit on the ground, and I think he's won the state titles at every belt. So you know, this is going to be a bit of a striker versus grappler kind of affair. So Brad had had a war against Jay Odell in the last show. To me, that was probably one of the fights of the night. You know, Jay Odell, you know, he really took it to Brad, and Brad ended up getting the nod. That was an exciting fight. Even coaching that, I love watching that fight. So you know, like this will be interesting to see how this one plays out. We've got 5 rounds, you know, 5 3-minute rounds, and we get one of those belts on the line. So yeah, that'll be good.
And that's not the only belt you got on the line, my man. We got Jack Macklin. He's up against the Coolum Beach bad boy himself in Tyler Cully, which I'm pretty sure that there's going to be a fair few people in the crowd there to see. What's going to go down on this one, my man?
Okay, so yeah, well, this is another one. So you know, all Tyler's fights have been on Coastal Combat, undefeated. He's made kind of pretty light work of his opponents. So you know, he's coming in. I think he was ranked number 3 when we booked the fight. Macklin was ranked number 1. Macklin was undefeated when we were talking about it. It just seemed like the obvious thing. So Dave Garnham up at Mackay. He's brought his guys down for the last 3 shows. So yeah, we just had a little chat, and it seemed that it literally took like 2 seconds. It's like You got number 1. You got number 3. Let's do it. Let's do it for the belt. So that's an Australian title, So what you can't. That can't. I'm not sure who. I think there may be one guy in the top 5 that might be able to put his hand up, but I've never met the guy. But so for now, right now, this will be the Australian middleweight title.
100%, and big things to come from whoever wins that fight. That's for damn sure. But the main event, it all crescendos up to this one that I'm absolutely looking forward to. 2 guys that in their last 14 fights have gone undefeated on the amateur scene, and they're making their pro debuts. So that streak's going to come to an end for one of these guys. We've got David Martinez, who is the current, well, I guess he's not the current anymore, but amateur lightweight champion at XFC, taking on Peter Templar, who's been absolutely destroying it up in North. Mate, I'm looking forward to this. What about you?
Yeah, well, so the thing is, this is one of those things. Sometimes, as a promoter, we often come and have like similar thoughts on fights. So I'll talk to the other guys. I'll talk to Matt and I'll talk to Cam, and we both kind of come. We all kind of come to the same point sometimes on matches. This was a match that I knew that I had in the bag, and I've had it in the bag for a little while. I knew Templar wanted this fight against Martinez. Okay, it was just a matter of just making sure Martinez, he was ready. He was ready to make his pro debut, and I'm really excited to put this one together. So it's Templar's purple belt hasn't really been touched or tested. He's got a bunch of quick submissions, so he's legit on the ground. He's rangy for a lightweight, and yeah, he's coming up against Martinez, number 1 ranked lightweight. I think he's 9-1-1. So he hasn't lost in a long time, and that's a legit record when it comes to amateur MMA. So he's got a bunch of belts. You'll see him dangling over his shoulder and wherever he can fit him. He's good. Training out of Ignite and Game Bred. He's a purple belt himself. He's competitive. This is gonna be interesting. Is the jiu-jitsu going to negate itself? Is it gonna be one on the feet, wrestling? How is this one gonna go? I just know this is something that I've been eyeing off for at least 9 months now. I've had these guys up my sleeves, and it's just about everything just aligning, and I think this one's going to be a cracker.
It's going to be an absolute cracker, my man. I cannot wait. And I assure everyone watching this interview that whoever wins that fight has, even if they don't win this fight, both guys have an amazing future, but that's really going to propel, to get their first pro win. Just no matter who wins that fight, both guys are really top level. So, mate, kudos for putting on that fight. I can't wait for it. Mate, sponsors, you can't do this shit without sponsors. That's for damn sure. So why don't we take a little bit of time now to go through the sponsors of the show? Yeah,
well, we've got a few brands and companies that support us behind the scenes. We've got QSEC Security. They run things up here on the coast. So they've always been behind us. We've got Miller Sockhill Lawyers, Joanne Riley Property Group. We've got Healthy Coolum Community, which is the not-for-profit that they present this event. Rough House Original, they're the driving force. They provide cash prizes for the fight of the nights. So we're not just giving people some gloves or an old gi that they've already got. So we're giving the fighters cash. Okay, just cash in the hand. And we're partnering up with Mercedes-Benz on this one as well. So Coastline Mercedes. So it's exciting, and we're moving forward with the sport. I'm pretty pumped up, and I can't wait for it to. Wish it was tomorrow.
Well, like we said, mate, you started in a room of 250. You're in a room now of over 400. Mate, you're only going up and up. I know you're looking to maybe even go bigger than that. So until next week, my friend, thanks so much for coming on the show. We'll definitely get this out there. And hopefully, if you need tickets, where can they get tickets? I know there's not that many left, mate. So you better tell them where they can grab them before they're all gone.
If you're after tickets, if you're local to the coast, just contact the Facebook page, and you can just come and grab them from any of the fighters or the gyms involved. So contact the Facebook page. If you're not local to the coast, just contact the Facebook page again, and you can buy tickets there.
There he is, Joel Szepesvary, mate. I will see you next week up at there at Coolum.
Okay, thanks for the chat, Wombat.